Hi guys, Carl Blake here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video, what I'm going to be doing is showing you how I go from this to this.
Now sissy that wow.
So guys, what I'm going to do for the start of the video, I am going to go, obviously, shave, pluck my eyebrows, do all that sort of stuff, make myself actually somewhat semi-decent, and as you saw in the little start, I'm going to look gorgeous. So, I will be back in a moment. I'm going to also have my eyebrows laid down, covered, all that sort of stuff, which I do have a video of. I'm going to put it up on one of these little thingies. If you want to go check it out, you're more than welcome. But if you like this video, like me, subscribe down below, like, favourite, all that sort of stuff. Even I don't know if you can favourite, but whatever. I will be back in just a moment. Alright guys, so now we're back. I have got my eyebrows laid down all flat. Done all that. I have got a video on how to do that, which I might put up. Never remember which fucking corner it is, but in one of these corners I'll put the link to the video that I did for it. Alright, so first thing that I'm going to do is use a Maybelline Kohl eyeline pencil and just etch out the shape of my eye that I want to use. I'm also then going to put this at the back of my hand, and using a nice little fluffy brush I'm going to dip into that product on the back of my hand and help blend out the area that I'm going to do. So this trick I did pick up from Miss Fame. It was just like etching out the eye shape of what she originally wanted, and I basically did the same thing. So using that Kohl pencil, I'm going to first start in the inner corner part of my crease and work my way up, having like a bit of a cat eye. And then just blending a little bit of it into my actual eye and going up. And for myself, I like to actually put it into my inner part of my eye, just here, and start to curve the eye shape that I want, without fully connecting it. Now this I'm going to put it on the back of my hand. And with that fluffy brush, the back of the hand, fluffy brush, just dip into it, pick it up with the brush, rub it in, and then just blend it in. And just a quick disclaimer, drag is fucking ugly until it is basically finished, so stick with me. So now I've got the shade down basically where I want it. I'm going to go into my Kryolan paint stick in 4W and just clean up that little edge down the side there. Then I'm going to put it onto a sponge and then just try and blend out a little bit of that corner line there. It looks pretty fine at the moment, but just to kind of soften it a little bit. Seamless. So now I'm going to use my Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas Concealer in the shade Illustrator and just cut out my socket and then define it just a little bit more sharply. So, you're wonderful. Now I'm just going to use my finger and just blend it out and pick up some of that product too and just disperse it down. I really like to use my finger for this point too, because I feel like I can just kind of get into the exact shape I want and be extremely precise with it. So I'm now going to go in with a little fluffy brush like this with some translucent powder on it. I've already got it on there. Just now set that concealer in place, because obviously I don't want it to move around and fuck up the rest of my eye. And now I'm just going to lightly dust it over the rest of the eye. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is use the Beauty Bay EYN palette, just to use the shade Nothing Else. This little shade up here. Dab that onto a nice little round fluffy brush like this. What I'm going to do is put this into that inner part of my crease here and just put it everywhere. With this I'm also going to put it on my brow bone, just up here. I'm now going to use a nice little fluffy brush like this. They're fucking dirty as hell, but either way it still does the job. I'm going to then go into Cinnamon. Just dabba dabba dabba. This I'm just going to basically put everywhere where I put the brown, just to bring back some of that colour again. Now using a little bit of a smaller, fluffy-ish sort of brush, I'm going to then dip into Throwback and press this into the outer part of my eye, or outer V, whatever you want to call it. First I'm just going to stamp it into place, moving up just a little bit. And then blending it into the eye, putting it into the sort of VC socket of my eye here, just trying to get the pigment and colour in there as much as possible. And going back into that same little brush that I had with dipping into cinnamon with nothing else on it, or whatever residue is left on it, just blending that up. I'm now going to use that same little brush here that has a kind of a bit of a fine edge to it. Going to dip back into Throwback again, and I'm going to put it into this part of my eye here, the outer portion. Just kind of control it a little bit more and slowly put it into the inner corner. And doing a little bit like a flicking motion to blend it out. So now I'm going to use that little tapered fluffy brush like this. I'm going to dip into After Dark. Just getting into the tip of it a little bit with the tip. And once again, just building out the colour a little bit on the outer portion of my eye. And with that little fluffy brush once again, just blending it out. Alright guys, so that's basically this portion of the eye all done. I'm going to do the other eye off camera and I will be back in a moment. Alright guys, so now I've done both my eyes. They're not fully complete yet. I'm going to do that just a little bit at the end. So, what I'm going to do now is do the foundation all over my face, which I'm going to use that Kryolan TV paint stick in 4W once again, all over my fat shack. So I'm going to use a beauty blender. It's a little bit dirty at the moment because I used it a couple of days ago, but what I'm going to do is now just dab that into the in and blend out the rest of the foundation. So now I'm going to do my contouring and just map it out in my face. I'm going to use the Inglot foundation stick in 114. And this is kind of like a nice, it might be completely wrong, but it's kind of like a very earthy sort of brown. It works nicely for my pan last face, but I could probably do something a little bit more grey toned or muted, but less warm is the word I'm looking for. But so this, because it is a stick form, it is very good to actually map out the areas that I want to do of my contour. So what I'll do is doing obviously the hollows of my cheeks, pushing a little bit up. And if anyone else has ever used this product, you know it's a fucking bitch to work with. You do need a brush to actually blend in. I don't know why they actually call this foundation, because if you use a beauty blender or anything else besides a brush, it ain't gonna blend, but it works very good for contouring. So what I'm going to do now is my chin. I like to just carve it out. Oh, there we are. And just a little bit up, like that. I like to also make my chin a little bit triangular. Just doing this. And because I've got like this kind of weird bridging thing on my nose, I like to try and focus a lot more of the product just around where that edge or that bump is, just try and hide it a little bit better. Also going down my nose, I like to also dip it off right there. Oh. Going around the side of my nose to make it look smaller. And now the forehead. Let's get rid of that man, Mary. So now I have got shit all over my face, but I'm gonna get just a tiny bit there. Oh. So now I'm going to use the Morphe M439 brush, this nice little foundation brush I would call it. I'm going to use this to blend out my contouring at the moment. And And with this I like to go in little circular motions itself just to help blend it out into the foundation. And for my nose I'm just going to use a little bit more of like a tapered fluffy brush just to blend it out. So I'm also going to go back in with that same little beauty blender I used to blend out the 4W foundation and just kind of, what's the word? Dull down the contouring just a little bit. Just bouncing over the top of it in certain areas that I want it to kind of go down. So now I'm going to use the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer in the shade C1. I'm going to use this as my highlighter. I'm going to do this under my eyes. I'm going to do a little bit on my chin, above my lip, on my brow lines, under this contouring just a tiny bit, on my forehead, woo. And now just down the bridge of my nose just a tiny bit. Now that same beauty blender again, I'm just going to first start down here, drag this down. I don't want to be too intense, I only want a tiny bit. Like that. I'm not trying to blend it into the contouring itself, I'm pulling it down. And now just blending out the rest of them. What I'm going to now do, as I forgot before, is use that Inglot foundation stick in 114 again. I like to put it in between my Cupid's bow itself, just in here to make my lips look bigger, because I can't actually afford to have my lips plump this month, so I'm going to have to do it like this. So a little bit of a Hitler stash, a little bit of shit above my lip, using a little fluffy tapered brush again, and just blending it out in that area. Now, because it's still just a little bit too brown, or a little bit too dark, I'm going to use that same beauty blender again and just blend it out. But it's just adding that shadow. You see, it just lifts up the Cupid's bow just a little bit, it makes it nice. And before my under eye creases, I like to look down to keep it so it's not, obviously my folds under my eyes aren't creasing. I'm going to use a nice little Morphe blending sponge, whatever I call it, a little tapered edge like this. I'm going to dip into some translucent powder, like that, coat the damn thing, and just push it under my eyes just so it doesn't crease. And this will help bake and highlight. Bake and highlight. And I'm now going to also do this under my contouring too. Now for the rest of the face, I'm just going to use a nice big fat fucker of a powder brush. I'm going to dip into some more of that translucent powder. And now I'm just going to dust most of my face. I'm going to use a different coloured translucent powder for the contouring itself, so it keeps a little bit of the colour. So now I'm going to be using a flesh coloured sort of translucent powder like this. It is the Kryolan blending powder in flesh, like this. Oh, like, go focus. Focus, you motherfucker. So this, as I said before, I'm going to put over where I have my contours. And now I'm going to push the product into my face. What I'm going to use is a nice little powder puff, not little, a bit of a bigger sort of powder puff itself, and just press that powder straight into my face. Just beating that mug. So now, because I'm an extra bitch, I have kind of made like my own little powder for baking and a little bit extra highlight. I know Kryolan comes out with this foundation powder that's almost like the translucent powder, but it's like $50. But I've got that mixed in with their normal white blending powder. This one, it's not as harsh, but it does a good job. So I'm going to use this to just highlight a little bit more. See, I'm a weird bitch for this part too. For my contouring, because I'm so bloody pale, I use the MAC blush in Melba, and I use that to kind of just start the colour for my contouring itself, because it adds a little bit more warmth to my face, a little bit more depth. And I don't have to do blush at the same time, so it works out quite well. So I literally do this everywhere over my contouring. At some point it might make me look like a burnt piece of shit. So now I'm going to use a tapered fluffy brush like this and just dust away that white powder that I put there, just to kind of add a little bit more highlight. And with that same little tapered brush, I'm going to use the Morphe, what is it? 06F palette, which is their contouring palette, which they do not make anymore, which I'm going to be very sad when I run out of this, because I already hit pan. So, what I like to do with this one is just tap into it ever so gently. Ooh, ever so gently. And then just tap this under my eye. Once again, adding a little bit more of a highlight. So now, because I'm a cheap bitch, I'm going to use the Models Prefer Sculpt and Glow in Medium to Tan 03 palette. It's got a nice little bronzing shade here, which I do like to dip in with that Morphe E4 brush again. I like to use this to intensify my contouring. Just a little bit, just ever so slightly dusting over it. So now at this point too, because of all the fucking products on my face and all the powders, I'm going to use the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist just to give some life back to my face. And now, because I can't find my fan, I'm just going to use my little Morphe brush and just fan my face. So this is the next fun part, highlighting. I am going to go way over the fucking top with highlighters at the moment. I'm probably going to use about 4 or 5. So, you don't need to do this. I don't recommend doing it, but I'm going to do it. So, I'm going to dip back into that Model's Preferred Sculpt and Glow palette again. I'm going to use that middle shade, that little light up as they got there. Just tap into it with a nice little fluffy highlighting brush like this. And obviously I'm going to put this on the apples of my cheeks. So I like to build up more like a little kind of natural glow and then work out into, or not work out, but work up to a intense highlight. Oh, that's still pretty good anyway. I still want more! That's fucking good. And this thing was only like $5, I think. So for my Cupid's bow, I like to like kind of dip my finger into a little bit and just obviously put that in. Oh, there we are. Oh, good. So now for the next highlighter I'm going to use the Inglot highlighter in Soft Sparkler. Is that right? Yeah, Sparkler. Fucking weird shit names. Dipping into that. Tapping it over the top, just more at the center of it. Oh, there we are. Oh. God, that's fucking good! Oh my god. I'm not weird. So the next one I'm going to use, once again being such a weirdo, I'm up to number 3 of my highlighters at the moment, is going to be the Jeffree Star Skin Frost highlighter in Eclipse. The one they did with Manny, obviously let's not talk about that situation. Obviously swirling the shit around in that. And then tapping over the top. Oh. So for the next highlighter that I'm going to do now, I'm up to number 4, is going to be the Inglot Sparkling Dust in, what shade is this? I can't see. Okay, I think it's 01. It looks like this. Let's see if you see. Oh, come on. That one. Because it's really cool. I use this on my eyes too. It's this weird little like, yeah, it's good for face and body, like chunky-ish sort of glitter. But it not shears out. It's not as intense in a way, but same brush once again. I'm also going to put a little bit more of the setting spray over my face so I can stick better to it. Bitch is beaming! So now for the bridge of my nose, I'm going to use a little Morphe M152 brush. It's a nice little flat sort of like tapered little brush like this. And this I'm going to use for the highlight down the center of my nose, so the bridge of my nose, I think is what it's called. I'm going to use the Jeffree Star Eclipse highlighter again, and potentially just use this one. So now to do the rest of my eye, I'm going to go back in with that Beauty Bay E by N Nude Matte palette again. I'm first going to actually dip straight into the shade Cinnamon. And just blending out into my eye like so. And for my eye too, I like to kind of drag it out a little bit and create a different sort of lower line or lash line itself, just down below here like this. So now I'm going to dip into Throwback and do this on the outer part itself. And now with a flat brush like this, I'm going to dip into After Dark and put this kind of directly under my lash line itself to connect up the end. And using that little Morphe M152 brush again, just to blend that out so it's obviously not as harsh. So the next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to now do my fake brows, my lady brows. I'm going to be using the MAC lip liner pencil in Oak. I'm looking at it because I can't remember what the fuck most of my shit is that I have. So, I would highly recommend sharpening these when you do this sort of step, just so it doesn't look disgusting and chunky like some queen's brows are. And what I like to do, I like to use my little powder puff at this stage too, so I can actually press it onto my face. Not press it onto my face, but rest it onto my face as I'm actually drawing my brows like this. Need my mirror because then I will fuck it up. And if my brow, just disclaimer, if my brows look a little bit janky at the start, they're allowed to. I'm gonna fix them, so don't judge. If you do, judge well. But what I'm going to do, what I like to do with my brow is kind of just start it here, just where my glue and actually where my natural brow itself used to be. And I like to do the tail of my brow. I don't like to start my brow here because I don't want the colour itself to be so opaque. I want it to actually blend into it. So what I will do first is start almost like halfway through my brow or 2/3 through my brow like this. And then just connect it into the end of my eyeshadow. And at this stage, just building it up so it gets thicker and thicker. So at this part, I'm going to use the Morphe M142 brush, and I'm going to now just drag that product into the center of my face. So now, as I said, remember, it's going to be a little bit janky at the start. I'm going to use now my Beauty Blender. Just blend out the front part of the brow itself. See, already getting better. So now I'm going to use a flat angled brush like this. I've already put some product on there, which is going to be the Kryolan TV paint stick in 4W once again. Keeping that little powder puff on my hand just in case. And what I'm going to do now is just cut that brow a little bit more and just clean it up. And now because I'm an extra bitch, I like to have my highlighting under my brow just a little bit more. What I'm going to use is my Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas Concealer once again in the shade Illustrated. Just going to use a little bit that's on the end of my brush here. I'm not going to actually use the brush itself because it'll put way too much on there. Just use that flat angled brush again and just going straight under my brow just to give a little bit more of a highlight and definition. So now I'm going to use a little fluffy brush like this just to pull down the product and not blend it into the brow itself, just to diffuse some of the colour itself into the actual brow where it was. So it's not as harsh too. So now I want to make under the brow bone itself just a little bit more white. To make it pop a little bit more, I'm going to go back in with that Morphe 06F palette, dip into that nice little, well, not nice. Why do I always describe everything as nice and little? It's nice and little! I'm going to go into that really white colour and just put it obviously right where I put the concealer. And now obviously I'm going to rinse and repeat on the other side, so I will be back in a moment. So guys, now I'm going to finish the rest of my eyes, and I'm going to be using the Stila Magnificent Metals in Rose Gold Retro. I'm also going to go back in with a Maybelline eye kohl pencil in chocolate chip like this and go into my inner corner of my eye just so I can obviously define it a little bit more and just sharpen it out. So now I'm going to go in with another Stila Magnificent Metals in the shade Diamond Dust, and this is going to go into the inner corner of my eye because you can never have enough glitter. So guys, that's basically most of the face actually done. I need to do obviously my lashes, my actual false lashes, my lips, and obviously put on a wig, and I will be right back. So obviously guys, this is the final result. As you can see, stunning woman. Oh. So obviously guys, if you like this video, like me, subscribe, leave a comment down below, all that sort of good stuff, and just thought I'd let you know if you're obviously at this part. Next video I'm going to do, going to be a big giveaway, so stay tuned if you want to be a part of that. So, as always, thank you so much for watching guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye guys.